Alright, so now that I've got that sanded down and slightly polished, it's not perfect, but it's coming along. Uh, Figure I'll show you how I put the staple in. Alright, now this is just a simple electrical staple that I bought down to Walmart. I just took a hammer to it and flattened it out just to get that little notch out of it a little bit. And then I take it, and I have already drilled this, but basically you're looking for about the center. Best way to guess is like figure out exactly how it's going to hang. You know, how it's going to sit on the body when you're holding it. And the best way to do that is just put it up against you and mark it off with like a pencil as to where you're going to do, and then just take a 1/16 drill and drill the holes. So we're going to take and it's the same basic setup as with the pins. You just take your glue, put a dab of glue in there, work them on the staple here just a little bit. And again, it only has to be as perfect as you want it. I get told by a lot of fellow horn workers that I really don't need to do it that way. You can use a coat hanger and just bend them, and I'm sure that's absolutely true. But I just find for me this is the best. This is just easiest, and this is what I started out doing, and I've been doing it ever since. So just take your hammer and pound them in, and it's gonna move on you. The staple is gonna move on you. So while you're pounding it in, you want to make sure that, you know, as it's going in, you're going to stop every couple of minutes and just make sure that everything's still as square and pretty as you like it. And one thing I found is that a lot of people, and I'm not sure why, they always feel the need to put that staple way out there. Like it sticks way out past that horn, and it's too far. It really is. It does not need to stick up any more than the width of your strap. Any more beyond that, and it's just wasted space. You know, and you're ruining the overall flow of the horn. Again, you want everything to look as organic and natural and like it belongs together as possible. If you got this big old staple sticking out, it's not going to look right. As a matter of fact, I'm willing to bet you I can get a little bit. And if you go too far, that's not a big problem. I mean, all you got to do is take and pry it out a little bit. But I usually have a small piece of leather right here that I usually use just to see if it'll slide in and if it'll slide in freely. Like right, it'll slide in freely, but still not be overly protrusive. But like I said, you're just doing that to where you know that strap will fit the horn. Still be a little bit of freedom of movement, but isn't going to extend beyond what you really, the aesthetic of it. So that's about right for me. You know, clean up the excess there, and we're going to take and we're going to sand that back again because of that glue. Just use the 200 grit and sand that part off a little bit and get it cleaned up and looking pretty again. And then we're going to start working on the die. We're going to tape this off and dye this part, the throat. See? Okay. Now, when it comes to the dye, like I said, you're going to use I'm going to use RIT, but obviously you're not going to dye the whole horn. And one of the things that is going to happen, and it doesn't seem to matter what you use, there's all kinds of different things that you could do, but like this is a blue painter's tape. I had wrapped it around there. You're always going to get that little bit of a washout, you know, from where the dye was. Electrical tape works good. still going to have a little bit of leakage. And it's not a problem. All you got to do is after you're done getting the dye, and you just take and sand that, sand that little bit off, and you're good to go. You'll end up with a piece that'll look much like this. And this has obviously been dyed and then cleaned up to make it that sharp abutment. Now, at this point, if you want to do engrailing, which engrailing are the notches put into a horn right at that shoulder. It's just an artistic thing. If you want to do that, right now is the time to do it before you dye. You want to get the engrailing put in. I'm not going to do engrailing on this one, so we'll skip that this time. But if you were to do engrailing, it's you just take a chisel and chisel out, or even a Dremel. If you have a Dremel tool, you could Dremel in notches there, and you'll have that look. You just want, when you tape it, you're going to tape it a little bit above where that engrailing line is, and you should be good to go. So I'm going to take this in, I'm going to dye it. When you're doing your RIT dye, you want to bring it to a boil. It's actually better if you heat the horn before you put it in the bath. It'll accept that dye a lot better, and you're going to play with it, because it takes a minute to find that color you really like. I mean, I've had some horns come out to where it's this really brown look to it versus the darker, almost black. And then I've even had on this one, for an example, like that really light brown. What that was it came out brown, but then I sanded and burnished it back a little bit, and then when I re-dyed it, it got that orange color coming out in it, which I quite like myself. So I think we're probably going to be doing something similar to that. I'll dye it, burnish it back, and then dye it again. So we will see in a minute. But on the note about the dye, it's hit or miss. You're gonna experiment and see what you can find, and the colors that suit your tastes the best. You're not gonna have it perfect every time. Sometimes, hey, you can get it the first time, and other times, you gotta mess with it. You might have to take it off and put it back on. It's not a problem. But here's how it looks right now. Obviously, this is after 200 grit, 400 grit, and then the quadruple lot steel wool. And then we're gonna take and dye the tip or the throat, and we might talk about engraving. All right.